Hello everyone, it is Wizaldo or Wesley, and today I have got a little bit of a unique video for you where I'm going to be doing a bit of a pre-release guide for OP14. Now, the last two pre-releases, I have taken home a win in both of them, so I feel like I'm a little bit qualified to make a list at this point for what to look out for, but I'd highly recommend checking out another creator's video that I will include in the description for how to play in a pre-release, because I'm just going to be going through all the really good cards, so you can just listen to this video and know what to look out for rather than me explaining how to play. So if you're a newbie and looking to learn a little bit more how to play in pre-release, I will include a video in the description. Pause this video now and go watch that, and then come back to this. A quick little disclaimer before I get started. I got a new mic and I'm working on setting it up. So in this video, there might be some issues with audio sometimes, and I'm really sorry about that. Please bear with me. If you know anything about mics, please give me some feedback on it. Right now, I'm using OBS to put on filters and stuff, and I'm still adjusting. Anyways, on to the rest of the video now. Anyways, I'm going to just kind of hop straight into the characters that you're going to want to look out for, starting with red. And these are all characters where if you see the card, it is 100% worth putting it into your deck. To start, there is this one cost 1k killer that lets you give a rested Don to one of your leader or characters. Really strong effect just because it lets you swing 6 with your leader for every turn while it's on the board, which is a pretty inherently strong effect, especially for a 1 cost where you can get on the board early where you will typically not be playing anything else and just generate value from there. After that is this 7 cost 8k Zoro with Rush, and when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 1k power for the turn. This is going to be really good for helping you control your opponent's board, which is really important in pre-release. Keeping your opponent's board small lets you kind of scale much better than your opponent, so something really scary for your opponent to see, or for you to see if your opponent has it. But it is basically swing a 9k into one of your opponent's characters just because you'll be reducing their power by 1, and it has Rush so you can do it on the turn it is played. After that is Trafalgar Law. It has Rush and it's a 10k, 9 cost, no counter, but a 10k Rush is really strong. It lets you trash 2 cards from your hand when your opponent attacks and basically swap the power of one of your characters and your leader for the battle. So pay 2 cards. Typically they'd be bricks or like a brick and a 1k or 5k counter, because you'll probably switch the power with the law. Really strong card defensively, and it has Rush and it's a 10k, so offensively it's pretty strong as well and going to be hard to get off of the board. Into green now, there's this Human Drill, which is a 3 cost 4k, 2k counter, so great 2k counter if I'm putting it in here. Your turn, when this character is rested, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So it's essentially, when you swing with it, rest to 4 or less. There's also some other effect that you can use to rest it, but typically you're going to want to just attach it onto it and swing a 5k and rest a 4 cost to swing into with your leader or something. But pretty strong card in my opinion. Good 2k, really worth looking out for. It's also an uncommon, so you're pretty likely to see it. After that is Megalo. This is an EBO4 card, which I will remind you is in the OP14 pre-release. On play, you can rest it and KO one of your opponent's rested 8k power characters. Really solid card for 4 cost. It's gonna really swing the tide of the game if you play it and your opponent doesn't have a ton of characters on board, so really worth putting into your deck. After that is Usopp. Usopp is going to be insane if you pick it up. It is again an uncommon. It's a 4 cost 5k, so really solid body to swing with. And at the end of your turn, if your leader has the Film or Straw Hat Crew type character, set up to 2 of your Don cards as active. And because you're going to be using the Rainbow leader, if your leader has effects are going to be going off, so you'll get 2 Don to counter with counter events with this Usopp. Really solid card, and as you'll see later, there are a ton of really good counter events in this set, so worth really looking out for. Green is probably the most powerful pre-release color at the moment in the meta. Within the last 2 pre-releases, I think it's like gotten really strong. So a rule of thumb is if it's green, it probably is good. Next up is Kinemon. Kinemon is going to be really good to play on curve, but after that, maybe not. It's on play, so up to 3 of your Don cards is active, so it's essentially a 1 cost character if you play it on curve. Then you cannot play any characters or cards onto your field during this turn. There's no way to get around that, unfortunately. But on KO, it also has a on KO that lets you rest one of your opponent's cards. That can be a leader, a stage, Don, whatever you want. Really solid on KO, really solid on play if you're playing it on curve or like a turn after on curve. But yeah, solid card, good body to swing with. Up next is Odin, who, when this character is rested on your opponent's turn, this character gains 2k power. Or it's if this character is rested, not when, which is really important. It's essentially a 7k on your opponent's turn. It's also a 2k counter, so worth picking up. But it's going to be really hard to get off of the board early because your opponent is going to have to invest a ton into it, and you'll be able to defend it pretty well because it'll be a 7k. So it's going to be a good way to establish a board presence if you're looking to do that. After that is Nami. It's an SR, so you might not see it, but it's really strong because it is a 4 cost that lets you rest 2 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 8 or less. It's really strong. and then set 5 of your Dawn cards as active at the end of the turn. That's going to be all for using events and stuff, as you'll see. But yeah, definitely worth looking out for, especially if you see it in your packs. Just throw it in, even if you don't see it as a solid card. After that is Tashigi. It's a 5-cost 6k with 1k counter. If this opponent would be removed from your field by your opponent's effect, you may rest one of your cards instead. Really solid way to just protect itself from effects, although there aren't a ton. There is Megalo, like I said, so if this is rested and your opponent tries to Megalo it, you can just rest leader or a stage or something. There is a stage worth looking out for. But yeah, solid card, and it has the activate main where you can rest 2 of your cards and give this character plus 2k power until the end of your opponent's next end phase. So it's going to be an 8k when you swing with it, essentially. Really hard to get rid of, much like this Kozuki Odin. All those same reasons apply to this Tashigi, which is also a rare, so worth looking out for. 5-cost Perona. On play, up to 2 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less cannot be rested until the end of your opponent's next turn. Going to be a great way to deal with your opponent flooding the board with low-cost characters, or your opponent blockering up if they see a ton of blockers. On KO, you can also rest one of your cards and play 1 green character card with a cost of 5 or less from your hand. Because green is so strong here, it might be really worth looking out for, even for that on KO effect, just because there are so many strong green characters. After that is Kikinojo. Kikinojo is a little bit of a less super strong card, and it is an EVO4 card, so you're even less likely to see it, but it has the activate main if this character was played this turn. Set one of your Land of Wano type leaders as active, which means at 10 Dawn you can swing 8k with your leader twice. Not much more than that. There are not a ton of power boosting effects, but there are a lot of ways to set Dawn as active that you could possibly use, like this killer, which can attach a Dawn to your leader. So maybe ways to make that leader swing a little bit bigger, a little bit scarier, but it's a good way to keep control of your opponent's board and develop a nice body at the same time. This Jinbei, again, one of the less strong cards in this list, but on KO you can rest one of your cards. If your leader has the Fishman or Merfolk type, play 1 green character card with a cost of 6 from your hand. It's a 7-cost 8k with blocker, so it's much like this Perona. It lets you play a 6 or less, which not a ton of great targets for green to do that, but it still hits those 5 costs, Shigi and Perona, stuff like that. After that is Shanks, and this character, on your turn, when this character is rested, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a 7k base power or less. So it's going to be a great way to get through blockers, and on your opponent's turn, if this character is rested, give all of your opponent's characters minus 1k power. It's got a nice vanilla stat line on top of that, and it lowers the power of your opponent's board. Really solid card to look out for. If you see it, throw it in your deck. Even if it's an alt art. I know some people don't like to put alt arts in their deck, but 100% worth throwing into your deck. Up next is Mihawk, the SEC of the set, or one of them. Your turn, when this character is rested, up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 9 or less cannot be rested until the end of your opponent's next turn. That's basically going to hit everything. It can turn off your opponent's Mihawk. So if you're facing a Mihawk into a Mihawk or a Mihawk into a Crocodile, really great way to slow your opponent down and essentially take away one of their characters. And also trash one of your cards on your opponent's attack and give up to one of your leader or characters plus 2k power for the battle. So essentially it turns a brick into 2k. After that is blue, and blue, I included 4 of this in this list because it is so insane. Your leader has the Fishman type, Rainbow Luffy beat, so it does. Look at 4 cards from the top of your deck, reveal 1 card with a cost of 2 or more and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the border. Amazing card that lets you grab pretty much anything in your deck, and it's a 1 cost 3k, so it's really easy to play to get rid of the brick out of your hand, and you can just attach 1 Dawn to, or 2 Dawn to it, sorry, and make it a 5k and able to be swung with. Much like that card is Chu, who essentially is just going to let you draw one and have the same stat line. Really solid card again. Really excited for these to come out because I'm looking to play some Jinbei. But yeah, same reason. They're both the same kind of same card. Really strong for the same reason. It replaces itself in hand. Arlong's a little stronger just because it lets you search for what you replace it with. After that is Adeline. Adeline lets you draw a card on KO. That's the big effect that is worth looking at. But you can play a Fishman or Merfolk type character card with a cost of 3 or less from your hand on play with it. But you're mainly going to be looking for that on KO effect to keep your tempo going. After that is Bo Hancock. Nice vanilla, 5 cost 7k stat line. On play, draw 2, trash 1 from your hand. The trigger doesn't really matter, but there might be some stuff later that you could play it with. You'll just have to wait and see. And Baby 5, the purple is another one of the really strong colors in this pre-release. On play, this Baby 5 lets you add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and set it as active. And then on KO, if you find a way to KO it, because you're probably not swinging with it, you can add 1 card from the top of your deck to your life area and just get rid of 1 Dawn, get that effect. Super strong effect, so definitely worth looking out for. And it's ramp, although ramp in pre-release isn't the greatest because you need to get consistent ramp. It's maybe worth throwing in, like Pika, who is a 5 cost 6k and 1k counter. At the end of your turn, if your leader has the Don Quixote Pirates type, add 1 Don card from your Don deck and set it as active. This is going to let you ramp really fast, just because you're going to be getting an extra Don every turn. Next up is Monet. On play, if your leader has a Don Quixote Pirates type, add up to 1 Don card from your Don deck and set it as active. So if you see a bunch of purple, and these are uncommons and rares, you can just ramp, and then play some big cards. On KO, draw 2 and trash 1 from your hand, then add 2 Don cards from your Don deck and rest them. Really solid on KO, really solid on play. Next up is some EBO 4 cards in King and Kaido. The really worth looking at effects is that they cannot be KO'd if you return a Don from your Don deck, and this is any number of times per turn. So if you play this King on your 6th Don turn, and your opponent tries to get rid of it with KO effects by battling it, you have to return Don, which is really strong because it eats one of your opponent's attacks and is essentially paying 1 Don for infinite counter. After that is Foxy. Foxy is another one of the kind of weaker cards, especially because it's an EBO 4 and it's an SR. But you can Don -1, draw 2, trash 1, which is a decent effect, and rest to cost 9 or less. And then it has the activate main to add 1 Don card from your Don deck and rest it. I'm not going to get too much into it, but solid card if you see it, possibly worth including. It's really only playable if you're ahead though. After that is Doflamingo, who if you Don -3, 10 cost 10k by the way with no counter. If you Don -3, you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 8 or less, which is a really good effect, or up to 3 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 7 or less cannot be rested at the end of your opponent's next turn. This is either a freeze 3 or KO and 8 cost or less. So overall, a really solid effect. Fortunately, the next color is Black, who didn't get a ton of good support. It did get this Merry Christmas, 2k counter, and if your leader has the Baroque Works type, just draw 1 card, then KO up to one of your opponent's stages with a cost of 1 or less. Solid because there are some 1 cost stages that your opponent might be getting some value from. It's going to be hard to get the on KO effect off without a leader ability or way to KO stuff, but if you do, solid 2k to look out for, because it also lets you replace the card in your hand on KO though. So again, might be really hard to play, but it's possibly worth looking into if you see a lot of KO effect. Crocodile is probably the best black card and a really strong card that brings the color back, in my book at least. It's SEC though, so gonna be kind of hard to pull or see, but on play, up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 9 or less can attack until the end of your opponent's next turn, essentially freeze a 9 cost, freeze any character on your board pretty much. Then if your opponent has a character with a cost of 0 or a character with a cost of 8 or more, draw 1 card. So basically if your opponent has a big character like Ingos or the Foxies, you can draw a card. And then on KO, it basically says this character doesn't die, you just get to play it again, which means you can get the on play effect again, and that means your opponent is investing a ton of Don into getting rid of it. So essentially it's the same as the King and the Kaido in that it lets you just protect your board with the on KO effect. But yeah, solid card, good way to keep a strong board going. After that is Perona, who has a really nice on play and on KO where it freezes one of your opponent's cost 6 or less. And yeah, just another solid freeze effect. It's a 4 cost 5k body. It also has that on KO. The trigger doesn't matter as much just because you're not going to have a ton of other Bark Pirate deck. But if you see this rare card, it's definitely worth picking up. After that is Ran, much for the same reason as this killer. It lets you attach 1 rested Don to one of your leaders or character cards. Probably just going to be your leader, but it lets you just get some insane value consistently. Also a swingable body. And it has this trigger where if your leader has the Kucha Pirates, which because Rainbow Luffy, you do, can play this card. Much for a similar reason, you run this Rindo, just because of the trigger, and the on KOs essentially draw a card or fish for a trigger, which not really super likely in pre-release, but it is possible. Gorgon Sister is also in there for the same reason. It's a 2k and it has that trigger, and these are all playable off of blue Boa Hancock's trigger. So you see a ton of triggers, maybe worth putting in. The Shakiyaku again has the same thing, but it also lets you draw 2 trash 2. So if you don't have a ton of good cards in your hand, it's playing off of that trigger. Silver Israeli lets you KO a 7k or less if your opponent's at 3 or less life cards, and has the trigger to activate the on play effect. So also again, possibly worth looking into. Next up is this 9 cost Boa Hancock. It basically says you can heal a life and then your opponent takes a life into their hand, and has a nice trigger too if you have a ton of trigger characters. I'm not going to go too much into detail because I do know this is getting long and I wanted it to be shorter. But next up are a bunch of events. There is this Strive to Surpass Me Roronoa Zoro, where it is essentially rest 1 Don and then another card, possibly another Don. This for fun, which lets you KO one of your opponent's rested 7Ks for 4 Don, or lets you get plus 3k power for your leader for 1 Don. I never bother to remember the faces of trash, which lets you rest 3 cards, draw 1 card, then rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a 7k power or less. So for, I believe, 7, you can KO a or 7k or less. After that is I Hear the Sound of a Lady's Teardrops Falling. Lets you look at the top 3 cards of your deck and look for another event card, but also lets you trash 1 card and pay 1 Don and give your leader +4 power. Just because your leader is Flame Dragon Torch is a 1 cost -1 Don, which gives your leader 4k power. The other effect in it is okay. The other effect on it is okay, but it's not really going to be worth playing. You'll target your leader with it probably, but it's a good way to end the game. After that is Everwhite, which lets you ramp a Don for 3 Don and give your leader power as a counter for 1 Don. Crescent Cutlass is okay. 1 costs 3k power to your leader because of all of these green cards that set Don is active at the end of the turn. Brickbat is also going to be really good. It's going to be a +3k power and it has that trigger. Not going to be something you're really fish for the trigger, but again, another counter event. You'll Frighten Me is really good because it's essentially the Beji effect. And after that is the stage I was talking about. On play, if your leader is Dracula Mihawk, which is Rainbow Luffy, draw 1 card, and at the end of your turn, you get to set a Don as active to use all of these events. So green is really good. I also did include a list of things that if you support for, or if you just have space for, they're really worth putting in. This Beppo is starting it off. It is a 2-cost 2k, where when attacking, if this character has 5k power or more, give up to 2 rested Don cards to your leader or one of your characters. Essentially, attach 3 Don to it and move 2 Don on attack. Solid if you can see the support for it, or if you can get it online, just stuff like that. In the same realm as that is Erouge, who's a 3-cost 2k, really bad stat line, is why it's just okay. When attacking, if this character has 5k power or more, so attach 3 Don to it, get this effect. Essentially a 6-cost when attacking, get this effect, which kind of sucks, but you can draw a card and then KO one of your opponent's characters with 3k base power or less. A good way to get control of the board if your opponent's playing a lot of little bodies. This Apu, I just wanted to call out this 3-cost 5k body. It's going to be really insane. Any of these vanilla stat lines where they're low cost but swingable bodies are going to be really good, so look out for these. This X-Drake is okay. It's just for the when attacking effect. You can give a opponent's character -2k power, which is going to help you control the board. After that is Osaku, where when this character is rested, up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a core less will not become active in your refresh phase. Much like the other red characters, you have to attach 3 Don to it to swing with it to get this effect, because it's your turn only when this is rested. So again, just an okay card, maybe worth putting in if you port for it. After that is Carrot, who essentially is just going to let you set your leader as active because there's not a lot of pinks in this set, but restanding your leader is not all that bad. And then Fisher Tiger, who lets you draw 3 cards on play, and then at the end of your turn, if you have more than 5 cards, you have to trash your cards into your at 5. So if you're low on cards in hand, this is going to be really good. It's also a decent outline and 1k counter, so probably worth putting in if you have space. And then Queen, who lets you trash 1 Animal Kingdom type Pirates card from your hand to draw 2 cards, but it also lets you rest 2 of your Don cards and ramp a Don, which is going to be really solid if you are playing a really top end heavy deck. After that is Gladys, who I almost put in the really good cards, but didn't want to just because I thought it does get a little bit outmatched, but it is a common, so definitely worth putting in your deck. On KO, you can return a Don to your Don deck and then KO or rest. So if your opponent's characters aren't KOable, you can still use this up to one of your opponent's characters with a 6k base power or less. Really solid card. You only have to attach 1 Don to it to get it swingable. Solid card nonetheless. The Loam is an okay trigger card. You don't really want to be in a position where you have to pay 3 for a 1k blocker, but it has a trigger, so it's worth putting in. Possibly. Shambles is really good because it lets you select 2 of your opponent's characters with a 9k base power or less and swap their base power with each other during this turn. Or during your main phase, you can swap a really weak character with a really strong character, clear the really strong character, and then your opponent gets a really weak character on the board still and not see the benefit of the swap. After that is Electclaw, which lets you reduce the cost of something if you have any cost-based effects, and also has a 3k counter for your leader or character, which is really strong just because all of the other 1-cost counter events do not work with characters, although this might only be pink type characters. After that is Shark Break Fist, another EBO4 card, where if one of your Fishman type leader or character cards gains +3k power during this battle, it's mainly going to be your leader. Then you can set one of your Fishman type characters as active. It's going to work really well with the Jinbei or any of the blue cards to protect them, the blue Fishman cards or the Sun Pirate cards. And then there is this Strive to Surpass Me Roronoa Zoro. I think this was in the other list too, but I wanted to call it out again because it's kind of like okay, only if you don't see the other green support, because if you don't see the green support, you're going to have to rest like one of your characters or something, which is going to be rough, but still definitely worth putting in there. Please Take Me With You, I Can Be of Great Help to You is a Jinbei effect that lets you draw 2 cards if you have 2 or less cards in your hand. It's going to be kind of hard to get online in pre-release just because you might not be flooding the board or playing a ton of characters to get low on hand size, but if you have a really low to the ground deck, this might be worth putting in. After that is Bullet String, where you can pay 2 Don, return 1, give your leader plus 2k power for the battle, then give your leader another plus 2k for the turn. This is going to be a really good defensive card, especially when you have all these green effects that are going to restand your Don at the end of the turn. And then after that is Ground Death, which lets you negate the effect of 5k or less, making it easy to get rid of those pesky cards that are going to be hard to get off the board. Or if you have 10 or more cards in trash, which is pretty unlikely in pre-release, it lets you give your leader or character card plus 4k. So pretty strong card. Anyways, I know this was a lot longer than I wanted it to be, so I'm going to wrap it up real quick. If you did enjoy this video, please consider giving it a like. If you want to boost it a little bit with engagement, or just give me feedback, leave a comment. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.